At 21, my dad yelled, "Get out! You're no longer our daughter." So I walked away and never looked back. 11 years later, I found out they declared me dead. To cash in, I walked into their family reunion and said, "Miss me?" Everyone froze. All right, Reddit. This is probably going to sound insane, but here's how I found out I was dead. LOL. Grab your popcorn. This one is going to blow your mind. Focus. I'm Katie J. Rast, 36. I was sitting in my apartment on a Wednesday night eating leftover Chinese food when my phone buzzed. Instagram DM. The name catches my eye. Scott O'Brien. This dude I hadn't heard from since high school. The message is short. "Yo, dude, this you? Pretty sure you're supposed to be dead, lie." Then he sends a screenshot. Facebook post from my sister Evelyn. Black and white photo of me at 17. Under it, "Forever in our hearts." Katie Rast, 1992-2013. Gone too soon, but never forgotten. My chopsticks hit the floor. The comments made it worse. My aunt. He's in a better place now. And my mother had replied to 20 of them with, "Thank you for your prayers. It's what she would have wanted." I messaged Scott back. "What the heck is this? Who told you I was dead?" Scott sent another message. "There's a video. Someone uploaded the memorial service to YouTube." I typed back, "Send it." The video opened with organ music, pews packed with people I recognized, all dressed in black. Then the camera landed on her. Lucy, my mother, standing at the pulpit in a black dress, looking devastated. We gather here today to remember our daughter, Katie. She made choices that took her far from us, and ultimately those choices led to her untimely death. I couldn't breathe. My father sat in the front row, stiff, complicit. Evelyn looked bored. Then came the slideshow. Photos of me as a kid. The last photo was from senior year. After that, I ceased to exist. When it ended, I sat in silence. They'd stood up in front of God and everyone and lied. I spent the next hours going down the rabbit hole, found my obituary. Catherine Katie Rast, 21, passed away unexpectedly while traveling abroad. Found the memorial page with dozens of comments from people who thought I was dead. I clicked through to the church's website, found the memorial service bulletin they'd posted. Full program. Opening hymn, scripture reading, eulogy by Lucy Reed, closing prayer, collection taken for the Katie Rast Memorial Fund. They had monetized my fake death at the actual funeral. I pulled up my credit report, checked everything. No unusual activity. They hadn't stolen my identity for credit cards or loans. Smart. That would have triggered alerts. This was cleaner. Just erase me legally and take what was already mine. I searched for the death certificate filing, found the county records database, entered my name. There it was. Certificate 2013 to 04782. Filed March 18th, 2013. Cause of death, motor vehicle accident in Kansas City, Missouri. Informant, Lucy Reed. Some funeral home in Kansas City I'd never heard of. Attending physician, Dr. Robert, medical examiner. I'd never been to Kansas City in my life, never heard of Dr. Robert, and I sure as hell wasn't dead. That's when it hit me. Death certificates don't just appear. There's a whole paper trail. Medical examiner reports, funeral home records, and if those were all fake, that was serious crime. Federal if they'd touch Social Security. State for forging the death certificate. Tax fraud for the charity scam. This wasn't just lying. This was felony-level fraud. I grabbed my laptop and started building a timeline. Then I realized something didn't make sense. I reread the certificate, filed March 2013, but they kicked me out in August 2013. I pulled up the Facebook post again. The memorial service photos were dated June 2013, 3 months after the certificate was filed, 2 months before they kicked me out. My mother had filed my death certificate while I was still living in their house, while I was eating at their table, while I was working at my dad's firm, while I was very much alive and breathing. She'd planned this, the whole thing. File the paperwork early through some scam funeral home or corrupt funeral director willing to look the other way for cash. Wait a few months for the certificate to process through the system, then manufacture a reason to kick me out. Make it look like I left angry and cut contact. Then hold the funeral, collect the sympathy, and eventually collect the money. That cold, calculated, psychotic witch. Now, I know you're barely understanding a thing, so let me take you back to that day. It was August 2013. I'd just turned 21, working at my dad's commercial real estate firm. He'd been grooming me to take over since I was 12. Raymond Reed and daughter, future dynasty, all that nonsense. But I didn't want it. I wanted to write, maybe teach, anything but schmoozing with developers. One night in late August, I came home around midnight. The whole family was waiting. Intervention style. Mom, Dad, Evelyn, and Tom, my dad's business partner. My mother spoke first. We need to talk about your choices, about Kieran. Kieran, my boyfriend. The reason for this ambush. Kieran wasn't in their plan. His dad was a mechanic. His mom worked at the grocery store. He was nobody to them. I know you think you love him, my mother continued, but he's not right for this family. He's holding you back. From what? From becoming another jerk like Dad? My father's face went red. Watch your mouth. Or what? You'll disown me? I laughed. Oh, wait. Tom spoke up. Your father is planning to retire in 5 years. He can't do that if you're distracted by some boy who doesn't understand this world. Some boy? His name's Kieran, and he understands the world better than any of you. He worked his way through college, didn't have Daddy's money to coast on. Evelyn chimed in. He's a gold digger. Katie, wake up. Gold digger? He doesn't even know how much money we have. I've never told him because, unlike you, sister, I don't define myself by Dad's bank account. That's enough. My dad's voice boomed. You have a choice. The business, your family, your future, or him. I looked at all of them. My mother with her fake concern, my father with his ultimatum. Tom looking uncomfortable but staying silent. Evelyn smirked. I choose Kieran. Silence. My father's jaw clenched. Then pack your things and get out. You're serious? Completely. You want to throw away everything we've built? Fine. Do it without our name, without our money. See how far you get. Evelyn hopped up from her chair. I'll get her a bag. She handed me a trash bag, literally. Some of my clothes thrown inside. She smiled. Good luck being poor, Katie. I took the bag and left. Kieran picked me up that night. We made it a year before my bitterness destroyed us. After that, I moved around Seattle, Sacramento, Portland, worked rough jobs, built a life from nothing, never contacted them, never looked back. Except they'd been busy erasing me and cashing in. The next morning, I called in sick. I needed answers. Proof. I started digging. My mother's Facebook was locked, but Evelyn's wasn't. She loved attention. I scrolled back and found a whole memorial album from 2013. Photos of the service, flowers, condolence cards. One photo made my blood boil. Evelyn and my mother in black dresses. Caption: celebrating Katie's life today. Gone, but never forgotten. I found the obituary. Katie Rast, 21, died while traveling abroad. Vague enough that nobody would ask questions. If they declared me legally dead, there'd be documents, death certificates, medical examiner reports, probate filings, and if those were fraudulent, that was a serious crime. I needed help. I called Chris Lopez, my old roommate from Seattle. He'd become a lawyer in Portland, criminal defense, but he knew people in the prosecutor's office. We met for lunch. I showed him everything. He let out a low whistle. Katie, this is fraud. Serious fraud. Multiple felonies. How do I prove it? We get every document. Death certificate, you already have that. Probate records if there was an estate. Financial records to show money changing hands. Medical examiner reports. Funeral home records. He looked at me seriously. This will get ugly. Nuclear level ugly. You ready? They buried me alive. Yeah, I'm ready. Over 3 weeks, we built a case. Filed records requests with the county clerk, probate court, the whole system. Got copies of everything related to my death. Probate records came back first. My grandfather died in 2015. Left $75,000 to each grandchild. When his estate went through probate in Kansas, guess what? My share got redistributed because I was dead. $35,000 to Evelyn. $40,000 into the Katie Rast Memorial Scholarship Fund, a legit registered nonprofit, tax ID and everything. Chris dug into the tax filings. Nonprofits have to file publicly so anyone can see them. 3 scholarships in 9 years. Total given out, $8,000. The fund had also collected donations from church members and business associates over the years, bringing in an additional $50,000. But the real kicker was where the money went. Administrative costs. Office space rented from my dad's company at $2,000 a month. Consulting fees paid to Evelyn. My mother ran it as executive director. Good grief, Chris said. They didn't just fake your death, they monetized it, and they've been running a charity scam for 9 years. We kept digging. Found my name in the Social Security death records. It's public. You can search it online. Catherine J. Rast, dead March 15th, 2013. My mother had filed for survivor benefits. Got a one-time payment of $255. Not huge money, but lying to Social Security. Federal crime, up to 5 years in prison. We found something else. The notary on the probate paperwork, the documents my mother used to claim my inheritance, was Tom Hendricks, my dad's business partner. Same Tom from the intervention. He'd notarized her sworn statement that I was dead. Had to know it was BS. That made him an accessory. I wanted to nail them all. We called the funeral home listed on my death certificate, Peaceful Rest Funeral Services in Kansas City. Chris had his paralegal do it. They'd never heard of me. No record of services, no body, nothing. Either my mother made up the name or used a real business without them knowing. Then we checked out Dr. Robert, the doctor supposedly listed on my death certificate. Chris ran him through Missouri's medical licensing database. No Dr. Robert in 2013. Fake name. My mother either made it up or paid someone to forge it. We requested the Kansas City Medical Examiner's report referenced on the death certificate. The KCME's office got back to us in 3 days. No such case number existed. Never had. My mother had fabricated it. This is slam dunk prosecution, Chris said one night. Documents everywhere. Your mom's looking at serious prison time if they throw the book at her. Federal and state charges. Evelyn and your dad are accessories if they knew. Tom's facing fraud charges too. What about my father? Depends what he knew and when. If he knew beforehand, he's an accessory. If he found out later but helped cover it up or took money from it, that's conspiracy. If he really didn't know and didn't help, he might walk. But he's married to her, works with Tom, and the scholarship fund paid rent to his company. He benefited. That's enough to go after him. Tom's definitely complicit. He notarized a fake death certificate. Evelyn's trickier. She benefited from the fraud, but we'd need to prove she knew you were alive when she accepted the money. She handed me a trash bag with a smile on her face. She knew. Then we make sure everyone else knows too. Chris pulled up Facebook on his laptop, scrolling through my mother's profile. Looks like your family does this big reunion thing every year. 4th of July weekend. Huge party at your parents' house. Invitation says all Reed family and friends welcome. I smiled. Guess I'm family, technically. You're going to show up to the reunion as yourself, the daughter they declared dead? Why not? I've been dead for 11 years. Time to resurrect. Chris leaned back and laughed. Man, I freaking love this. Okay, let's do it. But we're filing the criminal complaint first. Get it on record, then you can go haunt your family reunion like the ghost of Christmas revenge. We spent the next month preparing. Filed the formal complaint with the prosecutor's office. They agreed to hold off on making arrests until after I confronted my family. They wanted to see if anyone would incriminate themselves further. I met with the prosecutor, a sharp woman in her 40s named Monica, who looked at me and said, "Your family sounds like a piece of work." You have no idea. Actually, I do. I deal with family fraud cases all the time, but faking a death, that's a new one. And the fact that they profited from it, that makes me angry. We're going to nail them. I liked Monica. I also needed to document everything because I wanted everyone to know what they did, something they couldn't scrub away. I decided to start a blog, anonymous at first, just documenting the facts, the timeline, the documents, everything. I called it The Ghost in the Machine, posted the first entry a week before the reunion. No names yet, just the story. Family kicks out daughter over boyfriend. Family declares daughter dead 11 years later. Daughter finds out and plans revenge. It got like 40 views. Mostly bots, probably, but it was out there. My story, waiting to explode. 4th of July was 2 weeks away. I bought a plane ticket back to my hometown, a place I swore I'd never return to. But I was going back as a dead woman who refused to stay buried. The flight back felt surreal. I hadn't set foot in my hometown in 11 years. Hadn't even driven through it. Seeing the familiar landmarks from the plane window made my stomach twist. Chris had offered to come with me, but I told him no. This was something I needed to do alone. He'd arm me with copies of every document, though. I had a folder that could end my family's reputation and possibly put my mother behind bars. That felt good. I rented a car at the airport and drove to a hotel on the edge of town, Didn't want to risk running into anyone before the reunion. I checked in, went to my room, and spread out all the documents on the bed. 3 copies of everything: death certificate, probate records, tax returns, bank statements, social security forms, the criminal complaint. I took photos of each document with my phone, uploaded copies to 3 different cloud services, emailed copies to myself and Chris. If something happened, the evidence would still exist. My phone buzzed. Text from Chris. You good? Yeah. Going to their house tomorrow. Family reunion is at 2 p.m. Call me after. I want to hear everything. You'll probably read about it in the arrest reports. Even better. I spent that night going over my strategy. I'd show up an hour into the party when everyone was there and settled in. Couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about walking through that door, seeing their faces, watching them realize their perfect lie had come back to destroy them. The morning of the 4th, I woke up with this weird calm, like all the anger and hurt from the past 11 years had crystallized into something cold and sharp. I was ready. I got dressed, jeans, button-up shirt, grabbed the folder of documents, took one last look in the mirror. Let's go haunt some people, I said. The drive to my parents' house took 15 minutes. I knew the route by heart, even after all these years. Past the high school, past the park where I used to skateboard, past Kieran's old street. I wondered if he still lived there. Probably not. He was probably long gone, living a good life somewhere. I hope so. My parents' house looked exactly the same. Big colonial, perfectly manicured lawn, American flag out front for the holiday. Cars lined the street. I could hear music and laughter from the backyard. The party was in full swing. I parked a block away and sat there for a moment. This was it. Once I walked through that door, everything would change for me, for them, for everyone at that party. Good. I got out of the car, grabbed my folder, and walked up the driveway. The front door was unlocked. I opened it and stepped inside. The house smelled the same. That specific combination of my mother's candles and wood polish. It hit me like a punch to the chest. Memories flooding back. Birthdays, holidays, the night they kicked me out. I walked through the foyer toward the back of the house where I could hear voices. The living room was empty. Everyone was outside. I stopped at the sliding glass door and looked out at the party. 50, maybe 60 people. Family, friends, business associates, all mingling on the deck and lawn. There was my dad holding court with some of his real estate buddies. My mother moving through the crowd like a social butterfly, and Evelyn standing with who I assumed was her husband, looking expensive and bored. I slid open the door and stepped out onto the deck. For a few seconds, nobody noticed. Then someone did. A cousin I barely remembered. She looked at me, looked away, then did a double take. Her mouth fell open. The conversation around her stopped. People started turning, staring. The silence spread like a wave through the party until everyone was looking at me. My mother saw me. The glass in her hand slipped, shattering on the deck. "Hey, Mom," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Miss me?" Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. My father was the first to find his voice. "Katie," in the flesh. I walked down the deck steps. People scrambled out of my way. Funny thing, I was scrolling Instagram last week and found out I died 11 years ago. Car accident, apparently, except I definitely remember being alive. My mother had gone white. "Can you?" I pulled out my folder and removed the first document. Death certificate. Lucy Reed, informant. Says I died in a car accident in Kansas City, Missouri. Case number KCME 2030847. I looked around at everyone. I called Kansas City PD. That case number doesn't exist. Never did. I walked through the crowd holding it up. Certificate was notarized by Tom Hendricks 3 days before filing. Whole thing's a forgery. Jesus Christ, someone muttered. Phones came out. A few people started recording. I pulled out the second document. Probate court filing. Grandpa Walter died in 2015. Left $75,000 to each grandchild, except I'm listed as dead, so my share got split up. $35,000 to Evelyn. $40,000 to the Katie Rass Memorial Scholarship Fund, a nonprofit Mom set up in my name. Evelyn's face had gone red. "Katie, you need to leave." Not done. I held up tax returns. 9 years. 3 scholarships given out. $8,000 total. but the fund claimed over $85,000 in expenses across all donations they collected. Rent payments to Dad's company, $2,000 a month. Consulting fees to Evelyn, Mom as executive director. I flipped one last page, and here's the criminal complaint we filed last week. Fraud, theft, falsifying records. Prosecutors are already moving. The deck erupted, people shouting questions at my parents, others backing away like fraud was contagious. My grandmother was crying, asking my mother how she could do this. An uncle I barely remembered was yelling about being lied to for years. One of Dad's business partners stormed off, tossing his bottle into the trash so hard it thunked. My mother sank into a chair, head in her hands. Evelyn was screaming at me, vindictive, destroying the family. How could I? My father just stood there frozen, watching his perfect life collapse in real time. I walked up to him. You told me to get out 11 years ago. I made it without you, without your money. I stepped back. Now you get to see what happens when everyone knows the truth. You faked your own daughter's death for money? Someone in the crowd shouted. Another voice. Lucy, how could you? My mother looked up, mascara tracks on her cheeks. You don't understand. We understand perfectly, my grandmother said, voice shaking. You're a liar and a thief. I turned toward the house. Katie, please, my mother called after me. I stopped, looked back. You declared me dead. You cashed in. I'm just making sure everyone knows who you really are. I walked through the kitchen and out the front door, got in my rental car, and left. Behind me, a 4th of July barbecue detonated into chaos. I called Chris. It's done. How'd it go? Like a nuclear bomb. Perfect. The aftermath moved fast and felt brutal. My phone blew up. Texts from distant relatives, Facebook messages from old classmates, rubberneckers craving details. I ignored almost all of it. I spent the morning updating the ghost in the machine, posting the full story with one caveat. No names yet. Mother, father, sister. The people who knew, knew. I also flipped my Facebook to public and uploaded a very alive selfie. Reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated. By noon, the blog was taking off. Shares, comments, DMs from strangers who'd survived lesser versions of the same betrayal. Chris called. Prosecutor's office is moving. Arraignment for your mom next week. His voice dipped. And Evelyn's husband filed for divorce, says he didn't know about the fraud. I laughed sharp. Good. There's more. Your dad's partners are bailing, putting out statements. Your mom got removed from the church board. Local news is airing it tonight. I watched from the hotel bed. Lead story. Local woman accused of faking daughter's death for financial gain. Monica, the prosecutor, on camera. One of the most egregious frauds I've seen. Mrs. Reed falsified government documents and profited from it. We are pursuing maximum penalties. They cut to my mother leaving the house, flanked by reporters. She said nothing, just kept her head down. I felt nothing. A week later, a name popped up I hadn't seen in years. Kieran. Hey, saw the news. Holy heck, are you okay? We messaged like old friends who'd dodged a meteor together. He was kind, steady, the way he'd always been. Before signing off, he wrote, I'm proud of you for surviving, for fighting back, for not letting them win. The case rolled forward. Mom tried to bargain, but Monica didn't blink. There'd be a plea or a trial, but either way, the story was public. The real sentence wasn't in a courtroom. It was in grocery aisles and church pews and golf tee times that never got offered again. Dad lost 3 major deals within 2 weeks. His partners didn't want the stink. Tom Hendricks caught a fraud charge. His notary license suspension hit the news in a 1-paragraph blurb that still felt satisfying. His wife filed for separation 3 days later. The church asked my parents not to return. The book club group chat went silent. The golf guys ghosted. My grandmother divided the family group text into a new thread, without Lucy. 2 months after the reunion, I got a text from an unknown number. Katie, it's your father. We need to talk. I stared at it. The part of me that healed on its own said delete. The part hungry for answers said go. I ran it past Chris, bad idea, and my therapist, maybe, carefully. I chose neutral ground, coffee shop in the next town. I told Chris where I'd be, 2-hour check-in. Dad arrived looking stripped down, older, smaller, unarmored. You look good, he said. Being alive will do that. He winced. I want to apologize for everything. I almost laughed, but it came out a breath. Now? I didn't know she was going to file the death certificate. He stared at his hands. When you left, your mother was furious. Not because she missed you, because you chose someone outside the family. She said we should tell people you'd moved away. I agreed. A few months later, she told me you'd died. Car accident overseas. He swallowed. I didn't believe her. Then she showed me the certificate, said the embassy had confirmed. I wanted to believe it because it was easier than admitting we'd lost you. So you went along with a funeral, a scholarship fund, the myth. I thought you were dead, Katie. I mourned you. His voice thinned. Last year, I saw a charge to a PI firm in Seattle. When I asked, she broke. Said she'd been tracking you since 2014. Photos, addresses. She knew you were alive. She kept the lie for the money. My jaw flexed. Why didn't you tell anyone? Report her? Because I'm a coward. He didn't flinch. Coming clean meant losing everything. The business, our reputation, your mother. I chose those things over you. At least he told the truth. Is that why you're here? To feel lighter? I'm here because you deserved a family who chose you. He met my eyes. I failed you. I'll live with it. We sat in noise that wasn't quite silence. Sirens far off. Milk foamer hiss. A normal Thursday chugging along while a dead woman had coffee with the father who signed her off the ledger. Where's Mom? I asked finally. Out on bail. Trial in 3 months. Her lawyer thinks probation and fines. No jail. He swallowed. She's not well. Won't leave the house. Evelyn won't speak to her. The church banned her. Good, I said. I meant it. Evelyn moved to Arizona. Divorce finalized. She blames you. Of course she does. He almost reached for my hand, then didn't. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed to say it. I stood. I'm not your daughter. You made that clear 11 years ago. I pushed back my chair. Tell this to a priest. I'm done being your absolution. I walked out into late sun and felt nothing but air. The trial hit 3 months later. I didn't go. Chris texted updates. Mom pled to misdemeanors, falsifying records, theft. Federal charges evaporated in the fog of proving wires and intent. Sentence, 18 months probation, 400 hours community service, $75,000 restitution to me, $12,000 in fines. Scholarship fund dissolved. Remaining money redirected to real programs. My name stripped from everything. Good. I kept working. Got promoted. Moved into an apartment with a real view. I dated. I told the story when asked. Most people said, dang, who needs enemies with a family like that? It always made me laugh. The blog found its people. Emails from others declared dead on paper, erased by convenience and cruelty, flooded my inbox. We made a weird, fierce little community. One afternoon I ran into Scott, the DM that started it all. We laughed until we cried in a coffee shop. I'm glad you're not dead, he said. Me too. You ever think about forgiving them? No, I didn't. They erased me for profit. They were only sorry when it cost them. He nodded. Fair. That night, an anonymous email arrived. I didn't need a signature. Katie, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I think about you every day. I'm sorry. Mother. I didn't respond. Life moved forward, as it insists on doing. The internet didn't forget, but people did, the way they do when a scandal grows old and a new one knocks. My posts stayed up, receipts printed in pixels, so no one could pretend the ghost wasn't real. 4 years later, there was a knock at my door. The knock came on a random Thursday evening. I was making dinner. Kieran was due home in half an hour. I figured it was a delivery. I opened the door and froze. My father stood there on the porch. He looked older, not just in years, but hollowed out, like time had been chewing on him. Dad, he nodded once. Katie, I didn't move. What are you doing here? Just 5 minutes, he said softly. Please. I stepped outside, shutting the door behind me. 5 minutes. He took a deep breath as if rehearsed. Your mother's gone. I blinked. What? She died 3 weeks ago, heart attack. She'd been sick for a while, wouldn't see doctors. I think she just gave up. I stood there in silence. It was strange. No rush of grief, no anger left. Just an echo of something that used to hurt. And you're telling me this because? Because you're her daughter, he said quietly. You deserve to hear it from me. I stopped being her daughter when she signed my death certificate. He flinched but didn't argue. The funeral is Friday. You don't have to come. I'm not asking you to. I just wanted to tell you. Is Evelyn going? No, she doesn't want anything to do with me or your mother. She's still in Arizona. We stood there in the fading light. The air smelled like rain and asphalt. I watched him shifting from one foot to the other, as if the weight of silence was unbearable. "Anything else?" I asked finally. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. "This is for you." I didn't take it. "What is it?" "Money. The $75,000 from your grandfather's estate. The court ordered it repaid, but the funds went through probate after your mother's death. This is your share. It's yours by right." "I don't want it." He shook his head. "It's not from me. It's from him. It's what you should have had all along." "I don't care." "Then give it away. Donate it. Burn it. Just take it. I can't." He set the envelope on the porch railing and stepped back. His voice cracked. "I'm sorry, Katie. I know I've said it before. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I regret everything." I stared at him for a long moment. "You didn't lose everything," I said finally. "You threw it away." He nodded slowly. "You're right. She died thinking she was the victim," I said, thinking everyone had wronged her. "She did," he whispered. "And you?" That was the most honest thing I'd ever heard him say. "Good," I said quietly. "Then live with it." I picked up the envelope, not for me, but because I didn't want him leaving it there like some symbolic offering. "I'll donate it," I said flatly. He nodded. "That's good. That's a good thing to do. Your 5 minutes are up." He didn't fight it. He just looked tired. "Goodbye, Katie." "Goodbye, Dad." He walked to his car, shoulders hunched, started the engine, and drove away. I didn't watch him go. I went back inside, dropped the envelope on the counter, and went back to chopping vegetables. When Kieran came home, he took one look at me and frowned. "What happened?" My father showed up. What did he want? To tell me my mother's dead, to give me a check. Kieran's brow creased. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." I wasn't lying. For the first time in years, I actually was. "Are you going to the funeral?" "Heck no." That Friday, while they buried the woman who once stood at a pulpit and lied about my death, I was alive and very much at peace. I went to work, had lunch with a friend. Later, Kieran and I went to a late-night movie and shared popcorn. Life continued. A few months later, the restitution came through. The money was clean now, court-ordered, and transferred properly. I split it between a homeless youth organization and a scholarship fund for students estranged from their families. I didn't attach my name, just wrote the check and walked out. I kept writing on my blog, still anonymous, but the story had grown beyond me. People from all over the country were reaching out. Kids who'd been cut off by parents, adults who'd been disowned, erased, lied about. We built something, small but real, proof that ghosts could find each other. Years passed. The media forgot. The world moved on. But the internet never forgets. The archive of my posts stayed right where they were. Every document, every detail, a permanent record of who they were and what they'd done. Sometimes I still got emails. One stood out one night from a stranger named Sam. "I found your blog. My mom did the same thing to me. I thought I was alone. You helped me feel seen." That made all of it worth it. I never saw my father again. Never spoke to Evelyn. Never heard another word from that side of the family. And that was fine. Some stories don't need sequels. One spring morning, I woke up before sunrise. Kieran was still asleep beside me. I slipped out of bed, made coffee, and sat by the window. The city was quiet, washed in gold. For a long time, I'd carried the feeling that I was half alive, like part of me had been left behind in that fake grave. But as I watched the light crawl up the buildings, I realized something. They'd killed the version of me that needed their approval, the version that apologized for existing, the version that thought family meant obligation. That woman was gone. The one sitting here, breathing, loving, living, she wasn't dead. She'd never been freer. I poured the rest of my coffee into the sink and whispered, "Rest in peace." Not to my mother, to my old self. Then I turned off the light, walked back to Kieran, and climbed into bed. Life didn't need to be perfect. It just needed to be mine.